Hey, welcome back to the Gilbertson Aero Factory. It has been a long time, like 6+ weeks since the last video. If you look behind me, you can probably tell that nothing new has happened with the airplane in that time. There are reasons for that. We're going to get into that. But first, today is the 1st of November, 2023. The fever is broken here in Texas. The weather is beautiful. I can actually be in the garage with the door open and work on the airplane, but instead for the past several weeks, I've been working in the backyard because, well, what I'm going to tell you about the airplane made the backyard work seem a lot more appealing. Here's a look at it. I've been trying to turn this into this. Moving on. Late in September, Vans finally released the results of the testing that they did themselves, and then also with a third party who does metallurgy, engineering, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. They released the report, and they also opened up the portal that would allow builders like myself who are affected by the laser cut parts problem to order, kind of, the parts that they need to replace. Here's the results of the testing. In a nutshell, everything's going to be okay, but there are parts that are primary structures, load-bearing, blah, 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 that they still recommend that you replace. But in a nutshell, the report link is in the description down below. Read it. It's not that long. Basically, they used a very conservative model, meaning they stressed the hell out of their sample, basically simulating that this aircraft would do 50% of its operations as flight school operations and 50% of the time doing max G aerobatics, like up to the load limit of the aircraft. They weren't able to get any of these defective parts to have cracks that would propagate in a catastrophic way. And their sample, both Vans and the third-party company, basically came back showing that it would last for several thousands of hours, shorter than the normal metal fatigue life for that type of aluminum, but still longer than the expected lifespan of the aircraft ordinarily. And then compared to an aircraft that is flying normally, maybe 100 hours a year and maybe a total of 12 hours, like 12 hours of pulling G's and whatnot, that one would be expected to last about 12 times longer than their sample. So, yeah, no indication of catastrophic failures. But nobody wants to fly around with parts that are potentially defective and known to be so. So I'm going to replace all of the parts that they recommend to replace. There's a red dot. It says replace, recommend, or recommend, replace, or whatever. I don't care. If you have followed my channel for any length of time, you know that I'm not an expert at this, and so I tend to follow the instructions and not deviate from them. And so in this case, the instructions say replace these parts, therefore I'm going to replace these parts. The reason that it's a good thing that I haven't done anything on these wings for the past 6 weeks is because the next step for me, if you recall, was to finish the prep on the main skins and then rivet those on. The 2 inboard ribs, one on each wing, are on that list to replace. Actually, those ones are actually considered optional to replace, but they're not attached to anything other than a spar. They'll be really easy to remove, so I'll do that. That's the only thing that I have to do to the wings. All the other affected parts on the wings are flap and aileron parts, and there are a bunch of them, but they're all on the shelf. They haven't been touched yet, so that's fine. The empennage, on the other hand, is a big deal for me and probably for a lot of builders. I think between both of my kits, the wing and empennage kit, there are a total of 20, gosh, I'll have to look at it again, maybe 22 different part numbers that are recommended to be replaced. Of those 22, I found 2 that were not laser cut. I'm not saying that they were bad. I didn't notice any bad, and I've seen some bad ones. I didn't notice any bad parts in my kit. But let's be fair, when I started this thing almost a year ago, I don't know if I would know what a bad part looked like. So I have to disassemble my entire empennage. The only thing, the only 2 parts of my empennage that are not laser cut, meaning from the list, that are not laser cut, are the rear spar on my vertical stabilizer and the rudder horn brace. I'm replacing the rudder horn brace anyways because when I disassemble it, it's got a lot of things attached to it from a lot of different angles. I wouldn't be surprised if those holes got messed up. So since it's being offered as a free replacement, I'm going to take it because probably going to need it. Anyways, yeah, all of that work that I did last winter into the spring to build the empennage and then take the picture where I hold the horizontal stabilizer over my head, all that has to come undone. Ouch. This is a big part of the reason why I haven't done any type of building for the last 6 weeks. I'm not super motivated to start drilling out hundreds of rivets, and I'm also a little intimidated by it. I mean, at this point, I've become somewhat skilled at drilling out rivets, but when I start taking the skins off of all of those parts, it can get really expensive if I start to booger up those skins. Now, if there are what Vans will call adjacent parts, parts that are not laser cut but affected by the disassembly, those will be offered, I think, basically at cost, which is fine, but the shipping on a skin is what really gets you. The skin may be $30, but the shipping might be $200. So, what does this really mean to me though? In the long run, this will probably not have a material impact on the date of completion for my airplane. I knew coming into it that this was going to be a multi-year project because I'm just buying bits of it as I go. But that ability to buy bits of it as I go has been disrupted not by what's going on with Vans, but by what's going on with the film and television industry. If you're watching this in real time, November 1st, 2023, then you are probably aware that my industry has been essentially shut down since the end of April. So by the time we do get back to work, it will happen. But because we're so close to the holidays, even if the actors settle today, there probably won't be any work happening until the middle of January at best. So in the end, this is going to be probably 9.5 months, 9.5 months of no paychecks. It'll take me a long time to recover from that financially. So what else am I going to do except for take apart my empennage and rebuild it? I think that by the time I financially recover from what's going on in Hollywood, hopefully by the time that's done, I will have long since rebuilt the empennage and fixed the links to the fuel tanks and riveted on the top skins and just sat here and twiddled my thumbs waiting till I could do anything else. But I'm a very long way off from being able to order the fuselage, finishing kit, avionics, an engine that's going to cost more than all of that combined. So anyways, the impact to me, obviously everybody's situation's a little bit different, but the reality is right now I've got nothing but time. So there you go. So on Friday, a message from Vans, a video with the founder of Vans, Dick Van Grunsven. Not sure if I'm saying that right. We'll call him Van. Gave a little fireside chat explaining that the company is in significant financial distress. For the past few months, they have been out of cash, and Van and his wife have been propping up the company with personal loans of their own money to keep things going. This obviously isn't sustainable. They have hired a third-party get your ducks in a row company to get them all straightened out. Whatever that looks like, different processes, different leadership, blah, 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 who knows? I'm not going to go into too great a detail. I will say that I am not I'm not overly concerned. I don't believe that the company's going to go anywhere. I'll refer you to this video right here. This gentleman, also a builder, also affected by laser cut parts, not an expert on the vans situation specifically, but he is a professor of economics, and he does a pretty good job of explaining the difference between financial distress and economic distress. This is the one that vans is in. This one is not. So take a look at his. I guess next up for me is just to probably go ahead, oh man, I'm just so demotivated by this whole thing. Go ahead and finish the prep on the top skins, just so that they're not waiting around exposed to potential corrosion, and then start taking apart the empennage. Anyways, thanks for being here. I really appreciate you. I know ordinarily this is when I say let's build an airplane, but instead, let's unbuild an airplane. That's it for today. I'll catch you on the next one. The next one will actually involve doing things to an airplane, whether it's putting it together or taking it apart, but it'll be that stuff. See you on the next one.